Budget control is one of the most critical disciplines for security leaders, defining how resources are allocated, managed, and justified throughout the fiscal year. The primary objective is to align spending directly with approved risk priorities, ensuring that every dollar serves a defined protective purpose. Documented controls preserve discipline, while traceable decisions support internal audit and external review. Maintaining a structured budgeting process also ensures that capacity is preserved for mandated activities such as compliance testing, regulatory audits, or required system renewals. A well-managed budget becomes both a financial roadmap and a governance tool, demonstrating that security operates with accountability, foresight, and fiscal responsibility. Balancing top-down targets with bottom-up detail is essential to constructing a defensible security budget. Executive leadership typically sets funding envelopes or cost reduction targets at the organizational level. Security teams then build granular bottom-up estimates, labor hours, software licenses, service fees to reconcile against those targets. Gaps must be prioritized transparently, supported by risk justification and business impact. Once variance discussions are complete and approved, scope must be locked to prevent continuous revision. This dual approach maintains executive control over spending limits while empowering security managers to plan realistically and justify their resource requirements based on measurable outcomes. Managing the balance between capital expenditures, CapEx, and operational expenditures, OpEx, ensures compliance with corporate accounting standards. Capitalized assets, such as infrastructure investments or multi-year software licenses, must meet defined thresholds to qualify for depreciation or amortization treatment. Operational expenditures, by contrast, cover recurring services, subscriptions, and staffing. Accurately classifying these costs prevents audit findings and supports transparent reporting to finance teams. Security leaders must also ensure that correct account codes and approval flows are used for each type of expense. Clear differentiation between CapEx and OpEx improves both financial governance and long-term cost predictability. Headcount and labor planning are among the most complex components of the security budget. Each role must map to a funded cost center, and budgets should include not only salaries but also associated benefits, taxes, and organizational burden factors. Planned vacancies, start dates, and ramp-up assumptions affect total labor cost projections and must be modeled accurately. Distinguishing between full-time employees and contractors ensures clarity in workforce flexibility and cost control. Contractor engagements, while often more expensive hourly, provide agility for specialized projects. Transparent labor modeling prevents surprise overages and aligns staffing costs directly with program delivery expectations. Vendor cost models can significantly influence budget dynamics, especially as organizations expand into cloud and managed service arrangements. Security leaders must analyze whether pricing is based on per user, per endpoint, or usage tiers, since growth in these metrics directly affects future costs. Implementation and termination fees must be considered early, along with contractual escalators that increase rates annually. Accurate alignment between license counts and authoritative inventories prevents waste and non-compliance. Forecasting vendor costs over multi-year terms allows executives to understand total life cycle commitments and negotiate favorable terms that balance price with flexibility. Control thresholds and approval processes maintain governance discipline when budgets change mid-year. Establishing clear dollar limits for approvals ensures that minor adjustments can be authorized by managers while larger deviations route to finance or executive committees. Each request must include business justification and evidence linking it to risk mitigation or regulatory necessity. Time-stamped records of decisions create an audit trail that demonstrates compliance with internal financial controls. This structured oversight process prevents unauthorized reallocations and ensures that every adjustment aligns with governance, risk, and compliance standards. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other prepcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Variance analysis forms the heartbeat of ongoing budget management. Monthly reviews comparing actual expenditures against planned amounts help identify patterns early. Variances may stem from rate differences, higher than expected transaction volumes, or timing shifts between fiscal quarters. Highlighting the underlying causes, such as delayed vendor billing or accelerated project schedules, enables proactive course correction. Underspending may indicate resource bottlenecks or postponed projects, while overspending signals operational pressure or scope creep. Regular variance discussions keep leadership informed, ensuring that budget integrity is maintained throughout the year. In-year reforecasting transforms static budgets into living documents that reflect real conditions. Security teams must document the rationale behind any transfer of funds, showing how adjustments impact risk coverage or program performance. Essential operations, such as incident response and compliance monitoring, must remain fully funded before any discretionary or growth projects receive additional resources. Canceled or delayed initiatives should be reflected immediately in revised forecasts to free up funds for higher priority activities. Publishing updated year-end outlooks builds trust with executives and demonstrates fiscal agility. Through disciplined reforecasting, security leaders maintain both accountability and flexibility in managing dynamic financial landscapes. Contingency and reserve usage is another area requiring explicit governance. Access to emergency funds should follow predefined criteria, such as responding to data breaches, audit findings, or unforeseen regulatory mandates. Caps on single-event drawdowns prevent depletion of reserves too quickly. Each withdrawal must undergo post-use reconciliation, documenting how funds were spent and what outcomes were achieved. Once conditions normalize, leaders must prioritize rebuilding reserves to sustain readiness for future incidents. Properly managed contingencies preserve resilience while ensuring that emergency spending remains transparent and justified to auditors and executives alike. Regulatory and contract-driven changes frequently disrupt established budgets, demanding agility and evidence-based decision-making. New mandates, such as updated data privacy laws or emerging sector-specific requirements, often introduce unfunded needs mid-year. Security teams must quantify the scope, required timelines, and minimal viable spend necessary to achieve compliance. Each new cost should be mapped to specific regulatory clauses or control requirements to maintain traceability. When audits or external reviews occur, documentation of these linkages provides defensible proof that funding decisions were tied directly to legal obligations. Establishing a standing process for handling such regulatory changes ensures that compliance remains uninterrupted even under fiscal pressure. Zero-based rejustification serves as a valuable method for periodically validating that every dollar in the budget continues to add value. By rebuilding select cost categories from the ground up, leaders challenge assumptions and expose outdated or redundant activities. This approach helps eliminate historical inertia, programs that persist simply because they always have. Security teams can identify overlapping tools, low-utility services, or underperforming contracts and redirect funds toward high-impact risk areas. Selective zero-based reviews, applied annually to rotating categories, preserve organizational learning while encouraging financial accountability. The process reinforces that every expenditure must serve a clear business and risk reduction purpose. Linking the annual budget to a multi-year roadmap aligns tactical spending with strategic direction. Each year's plan should reference a 3-year portfolio view that outlines major initiatives, technology refresh cycles, and capability milestones. Large projects, such as SOC modernization or identity management consolidation, can then be staged across multiple fiscal windows to balance funding demands. Decommission savings from legacy systems should be built into outer-year forecasts to offset future costs. Synchronizing renewals, implementations, and architectural transitions ensures predictability for finance teams and continuity for operations. By treating budgets as part of a multi-year journey, organizations achieve both financial and strategic coherence in their cybersecurity investments. Performance and cost metrics translate budget stewardship into measurable governance. Tracking cost per monitored endpoint, cost per incident, or budget utilization by program and region enables precise analysis of spending efficiency. Unit economics, such as cost per SOC alert or per identity managed, provide insight into operational value. Quarterly variance percentages across categories reveal where financial assumptions diverge from reality. These data points, when integrated into executive dashboards, help leadership make informed trade-offs between investment, savings, and performance. The ability to demonstrate cost efficiency with empirical data strengthens the credibility of the security program and supports continued funding. Documentation and evidence underpin every defensible budgeting process. All approvals, vendor quotes, and statements of work should be stored centrally with version-controlled access. Forecast revisions must include written rationales detailing the reasoning and impact of changes. Tagging spend items to entries in the Enterprise Risk Register links financial decisions directly to mitigation priorities, providing a clear audit trail. Maintaining searchable records enables rapid responses to audit or board inquiries and strengthens the organization's compliance posture. In a mature program, documentation is not an administrative burden. It is the proof of disciplined governance and operational accountability. Communication and reporting complete the budgeting lifecycle by translating financial data into executive insight. Security leaders should present clear, consolidated reports that show total spending, trends, and risk impact of adjustments. Variance narratives must explain both the what and the why behind changes, highlighting the consequences of deferrals or new funding requests. Differentiating between mandatory and discretionary spending shifts keeps decision-makers focused on priorities that protect compliance and resilience. Reports must close with next-step actions, approval needs, reallocation plans, or policy adjustments, so that financial discussions remain forward-looking. Transparent communication fosters trust and ensures that security remains viewed as a disciplined, well-governed function. Security budgeting, when managed through structured controls and consistent reporting, becomes a cornerstone of enterprise governance. It ensures that financial agility coexists with accountability, and that every adjustment reflects both operational reality and strategic alignment. Disciplined practices, classification of costs, early recognition of encumbrances, continuous variance monitoring, and evidence-based reforecasting build a defensible financial model. When budgets are clearly linked to the organization's risk posture, boards and auditors view cybersecurity as a mature, exam-ready discipline rather than an unpredictable cost center. Effective financial management empowers security leaders to adapt to change confidently while maintaining integrity, compliance, and transparency in every fiscal decision. In conclusion, managing and adjusting security budgets requires a balance of precision, flexibility, and documented governance. Classification of expenditures, consistent variance analysis, and risk-linked justification create a transparent foundation for fiscal control. Processes such as reforecasting, zero-based rejustification, and multi-year linkage ensure that adjustments support long-term resilience rather than short-term reaction. Executives rely on these practices to validate that funding decisions reflect enterprise priorities and risk tolerance. The result is a defensible, data-driven budgeting model, one that demonstrates maturity, supports audit readiness, and positions cybersecurity as a financially disciplined partner in organizational success.